Imagine walking into a garden that looks like it belongs on the cover of a luxury real estate magazine, or perhaps a modern architectural digest. You see bold shapes, elegant structures, sweeping lines, and a landscape that feels incredibly intentional and calm. Your very first thought is probably, this must have cost an absolute fortune. You might assume the homeowners hired a high-end landscape architect and spent tens of thousands of dollars importing exotic, mature plants, building expensive hardscaping, and paying for endless hours of professional maintenance. But what if I told you that the secret to a high-end, expensive-looking garden is almost never a limitless budget? What if the real difference between a garden that looks messy, chaotic, and amateur and a garden that looks like $1 million comes down to just a few very specific, highly affordable plants that know how to trick the human eye? Today, we are going to look at the hidden secret of plant architecture. I'm going to show you exactly which budget-friendly, common plants you need to buy to make your garden look professionally designed, without emptying your wallet. We will explore the psychology of why certain shapes look luxurious to us, how to use the drift planting method of the old European estates, and how you can multiply your investment for free. If you are ready to build a landscape that looks rich but costs less than your weekly groceries, you are in the right place. Before we get to the specific plant breakdown, we need to talk about the biggest mistake beginners make when they try to upgrade their garden and make it look premium. Myth: an expensive-looking garden requires expensive, rare, and fussy plants. Reality: the most elegant and luxurious gardens in the world rely on structure, texture, and volume, which can easily be achieved using very common, tough, and highly affordable perennials. When most people want to make their garden look better, they drive to the garden center and look for the most unusual, delicate plants with a premium price tag. They buy finicky Japanese maples, rare orchids, or complicated hybrid roses. Or, on the opposite end, they buy massive plastic trays of tiny, brightly colored annual flowers and scatter them randomly everywhere. But here is the problem. A chaotic mix of small, random flowers often looks messy. It looks like a traditional cottage garden, which is absolutely fine if that is your specific goal, but it does not look expensive, designed, or structured. Luxury in landscaping is about control, contrast, and calm. Buying one expensive, delicate plant that dies after a harsh winter is a waste of money. Buying cheap architectural plants and using them correctly is how you actually build wealth in your garden. So, how do you create that luxury feel on a tight budget? The secret is something called plant architecture, and this is the part garden centers do not always explain. The human eye and brain are hardwired to perceive clear geometry as something orderly, designed, and intentional. When we see perfect spheres, tall vertical lines, or large, dramatic, sweeping leaves, our brains register this as structure. We see it as the opposite of wilderness. Think of it exactly like interior design. If you fill a living room with 100 tiny, random, brightly colored objects, the room feels cluttered, stressful, and cheap. But if you clean the room and place just one large, beautiful sculpture or one massive piece of art in the center, it instantly feels like a high-end art gallery. In the garden, you need plants that act like those sculptures. These architectural plants create the permanent bones of your landscape. They do not just bloom for a few weeks, they take up physical space with real purpose. And the best part? The plants that do this best are actually some of the cheapest, most reliable, and most drought-resistant perennials you can possibly buy. Let's look at the specific plants that will give you this high-end designer look for pennies on the dollar. If you look at any modern high-budget landscape design, you will almost always see tall ornamental grasses. Why do they look so expensive? Because they introduce something most cheap gardens lack: movement and volume. When the wind blows, they catch the light and sway, making the whole garden feel alive. They provide a strong vertical line that contrasts beautifully with flat lawns or round bushes. The budget reality. Ornamental grasses are incredibly cheap. You can buy a small pot for just a few dollars. Within 2 years, it will explode into a massive architectural feature. And here is the real secret. In year 3, you can dig it up, chop the tough root ball into 4 or 5 pieces, and replant them. You are literally multiplying your investment for free. Next is the perfect geometry of Alliums. Nothing looks more like a modern art installation than these flowers. These are tall, perfectly straight green stems, topped with completely spherical, floating purple or white globes. They look almost magical, hovering above the rest of your flower bed. Because the shape is a perfect geometric globe, the human eye instantly registers it as a deliberate design choice. The budget reality. You do not buy these as expensive potted plants in the spring. You buy them as dry bulbs in the autumn. A bag of 20 bulbs might cost less than a single fast food meal. You plant them once and they multiply under the soil, giving you more of those expensive-looking purple spheres every single spring. As a bonus, because they are in the onion family, deer and rabbits absolutely hate them. In design, contrast is luxury. If your whole garden is just bright green, it looks flat and one-dimensional. But if you add deep burgundy, dark purple, or almost black foliage, suddenly all the green plants around it pop. It creates the illusion of deep shadows and depth. Ninebark is a tough, fast-growing shrub with stunning dark leaves, and heuchera, coral bells, is a low-growing perennial with rich, velvet-like foliage. The budget reality? Instead of buying a slow-growing, highly expensive, and very fragile Japanese maple to get that dark red color, you can plant a ninebark. It grows fast, handles poor soil beautifully, survives freezing winters, and gives you that same moody, expensive contrast for a fraction of the price. Scale is a massive part of luxury design. Tiny leaves look busy. Massive leaves look exotic and rich. Giant hostas can grow leaves the size of dinner plates. They do not shout with bright petals, but in a shady garden, they do something more valuable. They create undeniable structure. The budget reality. Buying a real tropical plant and trying to keep it alive in a cold climate is a fast way to lose money. A giant hosta gives you that exact same lush, tropical, high-end look, but it is completely cold-hardy, requires almost no maintenance, and lives for decades. How did we figure out that these specific shapes and forms look so expensive? If you look back at the history of classic European estates, from the grand French chateaux of Versailles to the sprawling English manor houses designed by Capability Brown, you will notice something surprising. They did not use a million different exotic plants. They used the power of repetition. They planted long rows of the same tree, sweeping curves of the same grass, or massive groups of the same shape. In traditional landscape architecture, repetition equals rhythm, and rhythm equals luxury. A single plant is a specimen. 100 of the same plant is a statement. For centuries, wealthy estates used this trick to create a feeling of endless space and control over nature. Today, you can steal this exact centuries-old design trick for your own suburban backyard using affordable perennials. To make these budget plants actually look like $1 million, you have to plant them correctly. Buying the right plant is only half the battle. How you arrange them is the real secret. First, you must use the drift method. Never plant just one of something. Plant them in odd numbers, groups of 3, 5, or 7. A single ornamental onion standing alone looks a bit lonely and accidental. 7 ornamental onions planted together look like a highly deliberate, expensive design choice. Second, give them proper spacing. The biggest mistake beginners make is planting everything too close together because they want the garden to look full immediately. Give your architectural plants space to show off their unique shapes. If you crowd a beautiful round grass with a bunch of messy daisies, you lose the architecture. Finally, match the plant to the place. If your garden is dry and sunny, ornamental grasses and alliums will thrive. If your soil is poor and you have tough winters, choose plants like ninebark that do not need rich compost to perform. Do not plant a shade-loving giant hosta in the baking afternoon sun, or its beautiful, expensive-looking leaves will burn to a crisp. This is where the math gets really interesting, and where your garden starts working for you instead of against you. If you hire a professional landscape designer to bring in mature architectural plants and install them, you will easily spend thousands, if not tens of thousands of dollars. But if you spend just $100 on a smart mix of small ornamental grasses, allium bulbs, and a dark-leafed shrub, you are buying the exact same potential of a luxury garden. Because these are perennials, they get bigger, wider, and more impressive every single year. You are radically reducing your yearly maintenance because these plants do not need constant deadheading or replanting. You are suppressing weeds naturally with their sheer volume. And most importantly, you are avoiding those expensive impulse purchases at the garden center that drain your wallet without actually improving the permanent structure of your landscape. Time is the ultimate currency in gardening. Buy small, plant smart, and let time build your wealth. So let's settle this once and for all. Myth: expensive, luxurious gardens require rare and expensive plants. Truth: expensive gardens require architectural plants. They rely on geometry, contrast, and repetition, which are often best achieved with the most affordable, resilient, and reliable perennials you can buy. If you are tired of spending money on a garden that always looks a bit messy, chaotic, and frustrating, it is time to stop buying random, pretty flowers. Start buying shapes. Choose plants for their permanent structure, the size of their leaves, and their bold geometry. Smart gardening is not about doing more work, and it is certainly not about spending more money. It is about making better, more intelligent choices, so the garden can start working with you instead of demanding your constant attention. A truly rich, beautiful garden is not about how much raw cash you buried in the dirt. It is about how much thought, patience, and intelligence you put into its foundation. Elegance and luxury are available to absolutely everyone who is willing to make smart choices. The next time you are standing in the garden center, do not just look for the brightest, loudest petal on the shelf. Look for the plant that holds its shape, creates dramatic contrast, and builds the permanent structure of your dream landscape. I would love to hear from you. What is the one plant in your garden that looks the most expensive or gets the most compliments from your neighbors and friends? Write it in the comments below. And if you know your climate zone, include that too, so we can all learn what works in different parts of the world. Hit subscribe for more smart gardening tips that save you money, and I will see you in the garden.